Right, so very good afternoon to all of you, our cherished viewers of Hot Issues, and welcome to another exciting edition of Hot Issues. So, we're 2 weeks into the implementation of the paperless spot transactions. And already you've heard of some complaints, some issues, but of course, in the words of the Vice President, this has actually led to a revenue increase. This afternoon on Hot Issues, we take a critical look at the challenges at the ports, particularly when it comes to the paperless spot transaction. My name is Winston Amwa. After this short break, we'll introduce our guest, and then we begin deliberations on the challenges facing the paperless spot transaction. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Alright, so welcome back from that short break, and thanks for staying with us. Now, my guest for this afternoon is the president of the Ghana Institute of Freight Forwarders, Kwabena Ofusapia. Good afternoon, sir, and thank you very much for joining us.
It's my pleasure.
I believe you're doing very well and business is doing well.
We can't complain for now.
Well, we're told that you people have been frustrating the process, the paperless transactions at the ports, the freight forwarders. How come? Why would you want to frustrate a process that makes your work easier?
That was a rather sad one, you know. It was sad because the one who filed that particular report is not alien to the port processes. And the fact that it appeared on no meaner paper than the graphic and on front page, you know, it sort of delivered a certain, almost a mortal blow to the genuine issues that we were coming up with to help fix the problems that we were facing with the introduction of the paperless process.
What were the genuine issues that you were coming up with?
You see, the genuine issues were this, that the rollout, everybody, even including the Vice President himself, agreed to the fact that the timelines were aggressive. We all decided to take the plunge. What do you
mean by the timelines being aggressive? We say 4 hours, within 4 hours. All things
I'm even talking of the time of conception.
The time of conception.
And then the time of the rollout.
You had some, 4 months.
You see, you see, if you look at the time of conception and the time of rollout, between these two periods, the Vice President had to be advised. He constituted a team to advise him. That took time. After receiving the advice, he had to take time to come up with a white paper.
And the team's advice said we should go on the 1st of September, so?
Yeah, I don't have a problem. No, the team did not advise that we should go.
What did the team say?
The Vice President delivered the 1st September on the 17th of May. So every other process that were being worked was geared towards...
Did the team advise to the contrary?
No. The team cannot advise to the contrary because...
Well, there's a technical team.
Exactly.
If a technical team is looking at it and realizes it cannot be done, the team can probably say, you know what, hold on a minute. Are you aware of the team saying, hold on, let's postpone it, or the team agreeing with the 1st September date?
You see, the team had to work with certain time terms of reference. If the rollout time is not part of what they might advise on, they will just advise on the technical. And I'm saying this because I was part of the team.
You were part of the team?
Yes.
What were you supposed to look at?
No, we looked at various issues at looking at the gaps that existed. You know, that this paperless thing in itself is not a novelty because the single window was to deliver a paperless environment. So what then it meant was that we had to look at the systems in place. You know, the systems in place had constituted themselves into silos, all delivering a certain service to the attainment of the single window. You know, but what the Vice President intervention, very useful. It brought a certain dynamism and a certain push so that instead of we still going at it in the silos basis, the silos were to be connected, the gaps realized, those analyses done, and then the bridges formed so that we can move on and have a paperless environment. You see, so that's where we took it from.
Yes, but just help us understand. So you were part of a team that was supposed to advise the Vice President. When you looked at everything, what was the terms of reference for the team?
We were supposed to come up with how to bridge the gaps that existed between the various network, the ICT platform solution providers. We did that. We were to advise as to how these gaps that we saw could be bridged for us to deliver the paperless situation. You know, the paperless had been tried before in 2013, but particularly when we were to look at the things that made it fail, so we take those issues out.
What were the gaps that you identified, and what were the solutions that you proposed?
One big gap that we identified was what was happening between compliance, that is at the point of, I'm going to go a bit technical here.
And as you go technical, you explain so that those who do not appreciate these things can also understand.
When you receive your charge to engage in any business for any importer or trader, the normal situation is you go for a report. You make your self-assessment. Customs will have to agree with you on the assessment that you have made. So when they agree, a report is issued. That is what we call the classification and valuation report. Now, with that report that Customs has issued, you go ahead to prepare your bill of entry. The bill of entry assesses what you have done and then adds certain other levies, and then you get the total complement of what you must pay. We call it generically as duty. But this is just a composite of this one. Now, what has been happening hitherto was that there was a compliance unit. The compliance unit is another arm of Customs. Now, when you have done the bill of entry and have gone to pay at the bank, the compliance unit can agree to a whole lot of factors, including how you have described what you have put on paper, the value that has been adduced, you know, the value that has been assessed by a Customs unit, agree or disagree with it. We thought it was a duplication. I mean, we could live with it when the destination inspection companies used to do it, because that was a third party. But for the fact that it is another arm of Customs doing it now, we didn't see why there should be a sharp difference in what these folks downstream, the way these folk downstream sees things differently for. So one of the things that we suggested was that, look, let's carry the competencies that the compliance team has. Let's layer it on the delivery of the Customs classification and valuation report. At this point, valuation, classification, and other trappings of that report would have been delivered with the input of these officers at the compliance level with that level of expertise.
Okay.
So, and by so doing, you wouldn't have to carry paper and go give them. Mind you, we are thinking of taking out all the paper processes. Now, that was one of the major things that were asked of us and that we delivered. Then it came to the other bit was the joint inspection team, where depending on the item that you were bringing in, at a certain time you could have over 17 other regulatory agencies having interest in that consignment. So the idea was to get a very robust risk management engine which begins to profile the cargo which is coming in. Not only the cargo, who is bringing it in, where it is coming from, which warehouse is going to receive it, so that that element of suspicion will be allayed once that robust risk management. And you know, risk management is a dynamic tool. With time, the idea was to get a very robust engine in place, so that even before you ask the question, we will know who is asking the question, and the kind of answers to give you.
So that means you actually saw some. So then you shouldn't have problems, should we?
No, you know, all of this is delivered on ICT platforms. So even in advising, even in accepting the timelines, what we kept saying, and when
you say even in accepting the timelines, what do you mean?
The timelines of the 1st September rollout.
Did you have a problem with it?
No, you see, the issue was
you're supposed to look at how things were going to be done. In all your dealings, did you have a challenge? Did you feel at any point that maybe we hold on the 1st September date?
You see, like I was saying, when we delivered our report to the Vice President, he was not stopped to our report. He had intelligence coming from other sources.
But most of us were per your report, per the work that you did. was the 1st September date feasible?
The 1st September date was feasible to the extent that the ICT solution providers said they were ready to roll.
Did they say they were ready to
They said they were ready to
So there was no problem with the start date?
And then they gave us a lot of reassurances that they were ready to go. We did not just take their first answer of being ready for it. We probed and probed. They told us they were ready to go. Now, the system had to be retweaked at our end too. That is, we, those who use our front ends to access their system. Now, the retweaks that were done at our end were not major. So from our
when you say they were not major, what do you mean?
Yeah, the new models were added, like payment and request platforms. It didn't so much vary what we were used to. So for us, the add-ons were not so much of the heavy liftings. We thought the heavy liftings had been done by the ICT platform providers, that is Westblue, GCNet, and then the shipping lines. You see, so these reassurances that they gave us.
But at least you were made to, test the system, right?
We did not have too much time to test the system.
How long did you test the system?
Let me tell you, on the 30th of September, we had actually...
August or September?
Sorry, August, sorry. Okay. On the 30th of August, we have actually demanded to see the end-to-end rollout of what was going to happen if we should go live. And this was done in the at the premises of the GPHA on the 30th. But in all of this, I tell you...
When that was done, how did it go?
There were a lot of agitations, and unfortunately, I say unfortunately in this manner because there were certain issues that we had even before the 17th of May announcement of the Vice President.
What were the issues that you had?
We from the onset of this year, there was an audit done on customs, and this audit unearthed certain issues. Some bordered on fraud, criminality, malfeasance, and all of that. Now,
what constituted fraud in this case?
No, what I'm saying is that the audit which was done, be it at the alleged state, because some officers were interdicted and all of that. Yeah. So, and then that notwithstanding, there was some staff rationalization that went on. People were moved from their seats. Now, ordinarily, if you see a customs officer in blue, you don't take it that if you move him anywhere, he can begin to perform from day one. Certain seats are so specialized. Now, one of such seats was the Technical Service Bureau, the Customs Technical Service Bureau at the head office. That is where our first interaction with them begins, where we change the CCVR that I've mentioned earlier, the Customs Classification and Evaluation Report. Now, a lot of these folks were removed from that technical unit, even as the name suggests. And that in itself had been giving us a lot of problems, Hitherto, we could take the CCVR in 2 days. I mean, that is, even if you take it in 2 days, it was too much of an asking. It's like the system has delayed. Then after that, you realize that new folks have been brought in, they had to learn. This is a go-live situation. So now we had these things being given to us, sometimes after 2 weeks. And if you remember, there was a Friday that, and the anxiety level, we couldn't manage it. It was heady at the long room in Tema. Now, and then it was misconstrued as though we were stalling the implementation of
we'll come to that bit about whether you were stalling the implementation or not. This is Hot Issues with me, Winston Amwa, and my guest this afternoon is Kwabena Fosu-Appiah, who is president of the Ghana Institute of Freight Forwarders. Now, they've been accused of trying to, frustrate the paperless port transactions. Stay with us after this break. We'll continue and find out more about what led to all of these agitations, whether it was from the freight forwarders, particularly when, Customs makes the point that they knew what they had to do. All right, so welcome back from the short break, and thanks for staying with us. I still have here with me Kwabena Fosu-Appiah, who is the president of the Ghana Institute of Freight Forwarders. Now, that agitation which you talk about, Customs says you should have known. You're complaining of, for instance, having started, some transactions under the old system, which were stuck. But they say you could have gone through the old system and clear those, goods. You didn't have to go through the paperless system.
You see, in any rollout like that is why the aggressive timeline issues keep popping up.
But you did not have a problem with the timeline.
We did have a problem.
You didn't tell me this. I mean, you told me that based on the technical committee's work, we were good to go. What was the problem you had?
No, the technical committee just gave an advice. The ICT platform providers, they will have to take the white paper that the vice president issued and codify it into a tool that can take the concerns now and run with it when we ask the questions. Now, these ICT solution providers, they would have been the ones to tell the vice president that, look, what do you want us to do? And the timelines, we cannot achieve it.
Yeah, but now that you say you had a problem with, what was the problem you had?
Okay, so like I started saying, the CCVR issuance was a problem. It was not coming through because, and we identified the source. I mean, the reasons for the delays. It was not as if nobody knew what has happened. You have rationalized staff, you have moved new staffs in, and the new staff did not have a hunch on the job. That was the problem. Now, it took a lot of doing to have some normalcy there, but even as we speak, they are not at the optimum, you know. Then we had to roll without very well laid down do's and don'ts and ready manuals that we had to roll with, you know. And we haven't had that assurance from the ICT platform providers. What we had to do at our front end in our offices was quite clear cut. Now, so having asked the questions based on what we have been told to do and the answers were not coming, that posed another bit of a challenge. And once you ask a question from your front end, you are not receiving responses. And I'm telling you that, but for the things that we had to do to bring down tempers, and I must say here that the Vice President's office, the Commissioner, Customs Division, they have been very helpful in all of this, because we virtually had to turn my office into a call center, you know. And probably we want to look at the things that were not available to immediately escalate issues from our end.
What were the things that should have been available to make sure that these issues from your end were dealt with?
You see, Customs, they do have a call center, but seeing how aggressive the timelines have been and seeing that we are now connecting nodes to deliver a seamless situation for us, we were expecting to see a very top-notch call center with a very high-level officer heading it.
There was a call center already. There's a call center.
There is a call center.
Why do you need another call center?
No, Winston, I'm talking about a very top-notch officer, somebody who can take our issues irrespective.
Are you suggesting the current call center does not have top-notch officers who can address the issues? I
am saying that the current call center that we have has not got the capacity to take our issues and escalate it to the various nodes for answers. The best they can do is to deal with the bit that has got to do with customs. But what we wanted was a call center looking at what we were going to roll out and the timeline.
Did you make this proposal?
We have made this proposal, and in fact,
when did you make the proposal?
We have made this proposal along the line at every point in time.
What has been the response?
In fact, the commissioner has given us assurance. He has even given us a name that is going to be done. I think it is delaying a bit, but it looks like it takes some doing. You know, the public service, when they want to move, they move in a very gingerly manner, unlike the private sector. So we can give that to him. But, you know, the crux of the matter is that we just cannot wait, because in waiting, what it means is that the goods are not out of the port, the goods are in somebody's warehouse.
Apart from the last Friday problem, have you had any other challenges with it?
No, the challenges, like I have enumerated, there are many, and for all of them,
I mean, there was a huge problem at that time, which Customs says was as a result of the freight forwarders. Their misunderstanding of the process. Because now I have spoken to Isaac Krenzel, and he makes a point. I mean, the last time I was there, I mean, he was in my studio on 3FM with, you know, Kwabna Kwikwachi, whom you know. Now, he made the point clearly that you, freight forwarders, knew very well that you had up to the 23rd of September. So if you had started the old process, you could go through. Some of you somehow, even though you had started the old process, wanted to continue under the new system. And that created a challenge for you.
You see, communication is two ways. You know, anytime that you want to communicate, you pause and make an assessment whether the one at the other end has received what you have said. If you don't do that, then you are not communicating. You know, these things, you see, it is quite clear that everybody was on edge to get this thing roll. And I am not here to blame anybody, but I think that if we had anticipated the aggressiveness of the timelines and have probably put ourselves in better shapes, we could have delivered a much more seamless process than.
You knew it was going to start on the 1st of September. The Vice President had made it very clear. And even a week to that, we're all told again it was going to start. What else were you waiting for?
No, listen, like I have said, we ask questions. If you ask questions and you don't receive answers, as in if
you just told all of us here that the questions you asked, you were given assurance and reassurance.
No,
ICT.
Maybe I'm a bit. I am a bit challenged in the way I'm delivering my this thing. What I'm saying is that if you are ready to pass a declaration, you pass the declaration. You press the button for it to be forwarded. You are awaiting the response. The response hasn't come, and when you ask any further question, you don't get responses. That's what I was asking for, a top-notch situation. Now, what we had to do...
it means when you have challenges...
Yes, we didn't know. That's it.
Isn't forthcoming with answers to
there were no answers coming. You know, you pass a declaration, you pay your duty, you are waiting for compliance to be effected. And there was no answers coming. There was a short code that was delivered to us. You query the short code, all you get is compliance idle. The status of your declaration is idle. What does that mean? It was a new thing to us, and it has to be escalated. So if you had this top-notch officer who we could easily identify, we would have sent this concern. What we ended up doing was to be routing our concerns through very unorthodox phrases. We had to go through the Vice President's office, and in fact, that's why I said earlier that we had a lot of support from that angle, and I don't think that this was the orthodox ways of which this program should have been rolled. And like I said, then people had to string up cables to find out what was happening at the compliance room. They get responses and bring it back to us, and we lay it to our people. It was not the best.
What are you doing now to make sure the process works?
So we catalogued 2 days ago. We are still in touch with the Commissioner of SEPS. Like I said, he has clearly identified these issues of having to properly resource the call center and get every other person who is important in the chain. Yesterday we were at the GCNet offices to look at what exactly was making it difficult for us to have responses like we used to have it. And then we realized that for certain compliance situations where somebody, a top-notch customs officer or a compliance customs officer will have to agree or disagree with a declaration that you have done. And some of these declarations have stayed in the porches of these compliance officers from the 5th of September, and nothing is happening up to now.
From the 5th of September?
I'm telling you.
Something
that we could walk to the compliance officers during the paper time and take within 5 minutes, 2 minutes, I mean, give or take within 12 hours, you could get your compliance. I'm not advocating for that system because it didn't deliver a level playing field for everybody. You need to know somebody to be able to walk to that fellow to get this sort of delivery in 5 minutes and all of that. But now that we want to make the system blind to the questions that we are asking, we are expecting that it will be such that when it pours into the porches of these compliance fellows,
so on your part, what are you going to do as freight forwarders?
On our part, knowing what was coming and seeing that most of these things were going to be delivered on the ICT environment, we started even training our people. We brought in our managers. We actually, how do you call it, created a Microsoft Suite program for our chief executives so that they get to know, you know, with all of this time, the folks that have had this level of interaction with ICT has been our data entry clerks. But then we thought we should move it from that point because it was getting a bit scary to have your whole setup hinged on your data entry class. So we actually started training programs for our managers. We have done that. We stopped it a bit because of 1st September. We are going to carry it on. We're rolling other programs. As we speak with you, we as in Ghana Institute of Freight Forwarders, we have created our own database with which we have started the effort of integrating with some of these ICT solution providers to make life a lot more easier for us.
So you believe it would work?
Definitely, it has to work. There are no two ways about it.
You're not sabotaging the system?
Never. We can't. You see, at a point, it was a system which was rather frustrating us, and not the other way around.
You're not seeking to have everything cleared within 4 hours immediately, but in the long term?
No. You see, the Vice President's dictate, it says that within the next 6 months, we are looking forward to getting these things cleared in 4 hours. And it's a challenge that we have taken, and we are looking forward to. So you should be patient,
isn't it? So you know these challenges will be solved, and along the line, we will get to the perfect situation.
Winston, you know why we cannot be that extra patient?
Tell
you see, because whilst these processes don't run for you, it is cost. And where the cost builds up are known. The shipping lines, the terminal operators, the ground handlers. We have been having talks with them too, that seeing that it is a national project, why won't they also die a little? We started hearing very good news from the shipping lines and from Gapoha that they will be looking at coming down a bit on the days of demurrage and all of that. We really want to announce this when we've got it concretized.
Thank you very much for joining us. We're very grateful.
Great.
All right, so that's all from us this afternoon on Hot Issues. Thank you so much for joining us, and you may join us same time next week. But on Monday, you can join me on Sunrise on 3FM 92.7 from 5:55 to 10 a.m. I'm Winston Amma. Have a lovely weekend.